Listen, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and think of someone you've helped, someone you've given everything to. Maybe it was a friend, a partner, or even a stranger. You gave them kindness, you gave them your heart. You didn't hesitate. You thought to yourself, this is what's right, this is what good people do. You didn't question it. You didn't wonder whether they deserved it. You just gave. Now I want you to understand something so real it might sting. Kindness can kill. It can drain you. It can break you. You see, the world we live in, it has a darkness. And that darkness is made up of people who will smile in your face, call you their friend, and drain you of every ounce of that kindness. They will take and never give. And they will leave you wondering why you're exhausted, why you feel empty. But let me tell you this, when you give and give to the wrong people, it's not kindness anymore. It's an invitation to be exploited. You've heard the saying, what you put out, you get back. Well, that's only true if you're careful with where you direct that energy. You can't keep pouring water into a broken glass and expect it to hold. If you don't protect your kindness, it will become your weakness. And if you're not careful, that kindness can be the very thing that tears you apart. Kindness is often seen as a virtue, a trait that people admire and strive to embody. It's praised in stories, movies, and everyday life as one of the highest forms of human expression. But too often in a world that can be harsh and demanding, kindness is misunderstood. It's seen as a weakness, something to be exploited rather than celebrated. The truth is not a weakness, is a strength, a powerful force that can change the world when used correctly. But just like any strength, it must be understood, respected, and protected. When we talk about kindness as a strength, we're not talking about the surface level, fleeting acts of being nice just to get by. We're talking about genuine, selfless acts that come from a place of love and compassion. Kindness in its truest form requires vulnerability. It requires the courage to open yourself up to others, to offer something without expecting anything in return. That takes a tremendous amount of emotional energy, mental resilience, and heart. It takes strength to be kind when the world around you might not always seem deserving of it. The misconception that kindness is a weakness often stems from the way people are treated when they show it. In many instances, the kind-hearted are taken for granted, walked over, or even abused. It's a sad reality that kindness can be used as a tool for manipulation by those who seek to take advantage of others. But let's be clear, just because someone uses your kindness against you doesn't mean that kindness itself is flawed. It means the people around you might be. It means the way you express your kindness may need to be adjusted. But it does not diminish the strength that kindness holds. It takes incredible strength to remain kind in the face of adversity. Think about the people in your life who have endured hardship, yet still managed to show kindness. They've been through pain, loss, disappointment, and betrayal, yet they don't close their hearts. They don't turn cold. Instead, they continue to extend their hand to help others, offer a listening ear, or lend a shoulder to cry on. That's not weakness, that's strength. It's easy to be kind when everything is going well. But it takes true strength to be kind when the world around you is falling apart. It's easy to be kind when you're receiving kindness in return, but it's harder to keep being kind when it feels like you're being overlooked, underappreciated, or even taken advantage of. Yet these are the moments that test the true strength of your kindness. True kindness doesn't come from a place of insecurity or a need for approval. It comes from a place of inner strength, self-confidence, and self-worth. You don't give kindness because you want something in return. You give it because you understand its power to heal, to uplift, and to connect people on a deeper level. You give it because it's a reflection of who you are, not because you're looking for validation or recognition. That's the strength of kindness. It doesn't depend on external circumstances. It's unwavering, unshaken, and rooted in your inner values. When kindness is seen as a weakness, people start to protect themselves by building walls, shutting down their emotions, and becoming guarded. They think that if they stop being kind, they won't get hurt anymore. But in doing so, they cut themselves off from the very thing that could bring them healing and connection. They deprive themselves of the strength that kindness provides. The truth is, kindness is not something that leaves you vulnerable to others, it's something that strengthens you. It's a shield, a guard, a protection against the darkness that tries to break you. Kindness doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful enough to rise above the negativity and toxicity around you. Think about the people you admire most. Often they are the ones who embody kindness in the most authentic way. They are the ones who have made a positive impact in their communities, in their families, and in the lives of others because they chose to show up with love, respect, and care. They didn't let the fear of being hurt or exploited stop them from being who they are. They didn't let the world's coldness freeze their hearts. Instead, they chose to use their kindness as a tool for good. And in doing so, they became stronger, not weaker. They became the kind of people others turn to for support, guidance, and inspiration. They became leaders in their own right. Not because they forced their way to the top, but because they led with integrity, humility, and kindness. Kindness is a strength because it's not easy to practice. It takes resilience to continue being kind, especially when you've been hurt before. It takes courage to put yourself out there, to trust that your kindness will make a difference. Even when you've been let down in the past, it takes emotional intelligence to understand when kindness is needed and when it's being taken advantage of. It's easy to give up on kindness after experiencing pain, but true strength lies in your ability to keep showing up, to keep believing in the power of love and compassion, even when others may not see it or appreciate it. Being kind is not about being passive or allowing people to walk all over you. It's not about being a doormat or a people pleaser. Being kind means having the strength to set boundaries, to know when to say no, and to recognize when someone is taking more than they should. It means being strong enough to walk away from situations or relationships that are not serving you, even if it hurts. True kindness is not about sacrificing yourself for the sake of others. It's about finding the balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. It's about understanding that your kindness is a gift and it should be shared with those who appreciate it, not exploited by those who take it for granted. In the end, kindness is one of the most powerful strengths you can possess. It's a strength that doesn't need to be loud or boastful. It doesn't need to demand attention or praise. It simply needs to be real. When you embrace kindness as a strength, you become unstoppable. You become someone who can face any challenge, weather any storm, and still remain open-hearted. You become someone who radiates warmth, who makes the world a better place just by being in it. And when you give your kindness from a place of strength, not weakness, it becomes a force that has the power to transform not just your life, but the lives of everyone you touch. Kindness is not something to be underestimated. It is a strength that, when used with wisdom and integrity, can change the course of your life and the lives of others. The next time you're faced with a decision to be kind or to hold back, remember this: kindness is not a weakness. It is the most powerful strength you have, and when you embrace it fully, the world will begin to change in ways you never imagined. Beware of the people who see your goodness as a weakness to exploit. These are the ones who will tell you what you want to hear, but they won't show up when you need them. These are the ones who will take your time, your love, your patience, and your heart. And when you're empty, they won't care. Why? Because to them, your kindness is just a tool, not a gift. They will use it to climb, to take what they need, and they'll leave you stranded at the bottom. Beware of people who take without giving. This statement sounds simple, but its truth runs deep and is critical for understanding how to protect your kindness, your energy, and your spirit. The world is full of individuals who will look at your generosity, your vulnerability, and your love as something to be taken, consumed, and discarded. And while giving is noble, it is equally important to understand that not everyone who asks for your time, attention, or compassion does so with good intentions. Some people are not looking to build a relationship with you or to offer support in return. They are simply looking for what they can extract from you without any concern for what you may need or deserve in return. These are the people who take without giving. It's easy to identify these people when you take a moment to reflect. Think about the relationships in your life that have felt one-sided, where you've given far more than you've received. Perhaps you've poured your heart out to someone only to be met with silence when you needed them the most. Maybe you've invested your time, your resources, or your care into someone only for them to disappear or become indifferent when it was your turn to need something. These are not relationships built on mutual respect or love. They are relationships based on exploitation, and they can leave you feeling drained, resentful, and disconnected from your own sense of self-worth. It's not always easy to recognize when someone is taking without giving, especially when you want to believe the best in people. You may see someone in need, someone who seems vulnerable or struggling, and you may open your heart to them because you believe it's the right thing to do. You may convince yourself that they are simply going through a tough time, that they need your help, and that offering them your kindness will make a difference. But what happens when that person takes and never offers anything in return? What happens when your care, your time, and your love are consumed without ever being replenished? What happens when you're left wondering if your kindness has made any impact at all, or if it was just a means to an end for the other person? The truth is that relationships built on one-sided giving are not healthy. They are not sustainable. They are not relationships at all, but rather they are transactions where one party is continuously being exploited while the other takes without offering anything in return. And the longer you stay in these types of relationships, the more you lose sight of your own worth. You begin to question your value, your ability to be loved, and your right to receive. You may even start to believe that this kind of imbalance is just part of life, that this is what you deserve, or that you should be grateful for the little crumbs that are thrown your way. But that's not true. No one deserves to be in a relationship where they are only a source of supply for someone else's needs, and the other person is not invested in reciprocating that care and respect. It is important to understand that true love, true friendship, and true partnership are based on balance. They require both individuals to give and take, to support and challenge one another, to be there in times of need and in times of joy. It's a constant flow of energy between both parties, where each person feels seen, heard, and valued. When one person is constantly giving and the other is only taking, the energy becomes depleted. It's like trying to fill a cup with water that has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it will never be enough. There are people who are experts at taking. They know how to manipulate situations to make you feel like you're the one in the wrong when you set a boundary. They will make you feel guilty for not giving more, for not being there for them, for not sacrificing your own needs to meet theirs. They will use guilt, pity, or charm to convince you that you are obligated to continue giving, even when it feels like you are being drained dry. These people will tell you all the right things, make you feel important, and convince you that you are the only one who can help them. And slowly, without you even realizing it, they will begin to take more than you can offer, until you're left empty, exhausted, and confused about what went wrong. It's crucial to recognize the warning signs of these one-sided relationships before they consume you. Pay attention to the patterns. Notice if someone only reaches out when they need something but disappears when you need support. Observe how they react when you set boundaries or ask for something in return. Do they become defensive, dismissive, or distant? Or are they quick to make excuses for why they can't be there for you, yet never hesitate to ask for your help? These are the signs of someone who takes without giving, and they are red flags that you should not ignore. The hardest part about dealing with people who take without giving is that they often mask their intentions with charm or manipulation. They make you feel like you owe them something, like you are somehow responsible for their happiness or well-being. They may even convince you that their need is greater than your own, or that you should be proud to be the one to support them. But the truth is, no one should be asked to give until it hurts. No one should feel responsible for another person's emotional, physical, or financial well-being at the expense of their own. True love and friendship are built on mutual respect, not on one person continually sacrificing for the other. The key to avoiding exploitation is learning to set boundaries. You must be able to recognize when someone is crossing a line, when they are taking more than you are able or willing to give. It's important to understand that setting boundaries is not about being selfish or unkind. It's about protecting yourself, your energy, and your sense of self-worth. You are allowed to say no when someone asks for something that doesn't serve you, and you are allowed to walk away from relationships that drain you. In fact, you must learn to protect your kindness from those who will exploit it. You must realize that your love, your time, and your energy are precious resources, and they should be shared only with those who respect and value them. At the end of the day, the people who take without giving are not the ones who will help you grow or thrive. They are not the ones who will celebrate your successes or support you through your challenges. They are not the ones who will stand by your side when things get tough. True relationships are built on the foundation of mutual care, respect, and reciprocity. If someone cannot offer you the same level of commitment, love, and support that you offer them, then it's time to reevaluate the relationship. It's time to recognize that your worth is not tied to what you can give to others. You are deserving of relationships where you are valued, where your kindness is reciprocated, and where you are treated with the same respect that you extend to others. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Protect your energy. This simple yet powerful statement holds one of the most important truths about maintaining your mental and emotional well-being. We often hear it said that in order to help others, we must first help ourselves, but so many of us overlook this fundamental principle. We pour our energy into everyone and everything around us, believing that we must keep giving, keep showing up, and keep being there for others without ever considering what we need. And in doing so, we deplete ourselves, we become tired, worn out, and eventually we lose sight of who we are and what we need to thrive. This is where the importance of protecting your energy comes in. When you give and give without replenishing yourself, you eventually hit a point of exhaustion. It may start small, just a little tiredness here and there, a sense of overwhelm that lingers, but over time, it grows into something far more significant. You start to feel emotionally drained, mentally exhausted, and physically spent. You may become irritable or distant from those around you because you no longer have the capacity to show up for anyone, including yourself. Your energy reserves, once abundant, begin to run on empty, and the things that once brought you joy now feel like burdens. The reality is, we live in a world that constantly demands our attention. There are always people needing something, whether it's your time, your help, your compassion, or your expertise. It's easy to feel like you're always being pulled in different directions, like you're always being asked to do more, to give more, to be more. And because we live in a culture that values productivity and self-sacrifice, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that the more we give, the more valuable we are. But this mindset is a recipe for burnout. Imagine yourself as a well. If you're constantly drawing water from that well without replenishing it, the well eventually runs dry. And when that happens, there's nothing left to give. This is how we often treat our energy. We give and give to others, and we never take the time to refill our own cup. We pour out all of our love, all of our effort, and all of our resources without stopping to check if we have enough left for ourselves. We push through the exhaustion, ignoring the signs of burnout because we feel like we don't have a choice. We feel like we have to keep going, keep giving, keep serving, but this mindset only leads to exhaustion and a sense of disconnection from ourselves. To protect your energy, you have to learn to set boundaries. Boundaries are not selfish, they are a form of self-respect. They are the line that you draw in the sand to protect your well-being, your time, and your emotional health. Boundaries allow you to say no when you need to take a step back when you're feeling overwhelmed, and to put yourself first without feeling guilty. It's about recognizing that your energy is finite and that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to prioritize yourself if you want to be able to show up for others in a meaningful and sustainable way. Setting boundaries can be difficult, especially if you've been conditioned to always say yes, to always help, to always put others before yourself. But if you don't protect your energy, you'll end up being no good to anyone. You'll find yourself resentful, frustrated, and burned out with nothing left to give to those who matter most. The truth is, when you protect your energy, you become more effective in everything you do. You show up with more presence, more focus, and more love. You can give from a place of abundance rather than depletion. And that makes all the difference. There's also a deeper truth here. The more you protect your energy, the more you honor your own needs, the more you begin to understand the importance of self-care. Self-care isn't just about pampering yourself with a bubble bath or a massage. It's about taking the time to replenish yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's about recognizing when you need rest, when you need to step away, and when you need to say no. Self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. You cannot be your best self if you're constantly running on empty. And you certainly cannot give your best to others if you don't first take care of your own well-being. Sometimes protecting your energy means making hard decisions. It means walking away from relationships or situations that drain you, even if it's difficult. It means saying goodbye to people or circumstances that are no longer serving your growth or well-being. It may mean letting go of commitments or obligations that are taking more from you than you can afford to give. It may require you to let go of guilt and the need to please others. The truth is, you are not obligated to pour from your cup just because someone asks you to. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You are only responsible for your own well-being and for giving when you have the capacity to do so. It's also important to recognize that protecting your energy doesn't mean being selfish in the negative sense of the word. It doesn't mean isolating yourself or withdrawing from the people who care about you. It doesn't mean ignoring the needs of others altogether. It simply means that you have to be selective about where and to whom you give your energy. Not every request, every person, or every situation deserves your time or your attention. Some people will drain you while others will lift you up. It's about understanding the difference and making conscious choices about where you invest your emotional and physical energy. Learning to protect your energy also involves developing emotional resilience. Life will always bring challenges, obstacles, and people who try to take more than they should. You will encounter situations that drain you, but it's how you respond to these situations that matters. Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from these draining experiences, to refill your cup, and to continue moving forward with strength and purpose. It's about finding balance between giving and receiving, between being there for others and being there for yourself. The more you practice protecting your energy, the more you'll realize that you have the power to create the life you want. You have the power to surround yourself with people who uplift you, to engage in activities that recharge you, and to set boundaries that preserve your peace. You don't have to give everything to everyone, and you don't have to be everything to everyone. You are allowed to put yourself first when necessary. You are allowed to prioritize your own needs without feeling guilty. In fact, it is only when you protect your energy that you can truly give to others in a meaningful and sustainable way. Remember, protecting your energy isn't about being perfect or never feeling drained. It's about being mindful of your own limits and making conscious choices about how to use your energy. It's about recognizing when you need a break, when you need to step back, and when you need to refuel. It's about understanding that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's, and that you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you protect your energy, you create a life that is aligned with your values, your needs, and your purpose. You create a life where you can show up fully, love deeply, and live authentically because you've taken the time to take care of yourself first. You will find that not everyone who comes into your life is meant to stay, and that's okay. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn, yet it is also one of the most crucial. We often hold on to people, relationships, or situations because we want to believe in their potential. We want to believe that the person we've invested so much time, energy, and love into will eventually become the person we hoped they would be. But not every connection is meant to last, and not every relationship is meant to grow. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to recognize when it's time to let go. The reality is, people change, circumstances change, and you change. As you grow and evolve, you will outgrow certain relationships. It's not about judgment or rejection. It's about recognizing that certain people or situations no longer align with the person you are becoming. And that's perfectly okay. We hold on to people because we fear the unknown. We fear being alone, or we fear that letting go means, or somehow giving up or admitting defeat. But the truth is, letting go is an act of strength, not weakness. It takes courage to release someone or something that no longer serves you, especially when you've invested so much into it. The fear of letting go often comes from a place of attachment. We become attached to people because they fill a void, offer comfort, or provide a sense of security. But attachment, while natural, can become unhealthy when it keeps us holding on to situations or people who no longer support our growth or happiness. We can become so attached to an idea of someone or something that we lose sight of what's best for us. We continue to pour our energy into something that isn't giving us the same return, and we become afraid that without it, we will lose something vital. But in reality, by holding on to what no longer serves us, we are preventing ourselves from making room for something better. Letting go doesn't always mean walking away entirely from a person or situation. It can also mean accepting that it is no longer serving you in the way you hoped. Sometimes relationships drift apart naturally because people change. You might realize that the person you once felt deeply connected to no longer shares the same values or priorities as you. Or perhaps they've changed in ways that no longer align with your own growth. This is a normal part of life, and it doesn't mean that the relationship was a failure. It simply means that the time has come for each of you to move on in different directions. What can make letting go so challenging is the emotional attachment we form. We create narratives around relationships, telling ourselves that we need them, that they define us, or that they are a reflection of who we are. When someone exits our life, it can feel like a loss of identity, a loss of something that was integral to our sense of self. But in truth, we are not defined by our relationships or the people in our lives. We are defined by who we are on our own terms. We are defined by our values, our beliefs, our strengths, and our journey. Sometimes letting go of people who no longer serve us is the most empowering decision we can make. It allows us to rediscover ourselves, to reclaim our peace, and to move forward without the weight of unnecessary attachments. Letting go can also be difficult because we fear that it will leave a void. We worry that without certain people or situations, we will feel lonely, incomplete, or lost. But what we fail to realize is that these voids can actually be opportunities for growth. When we let go of things that no longer serve us, we make room for new experiences, new people, and new possibilities. The void that we feel is not a permanent space, it is simply a transition, a moment of change that allows us to evolve into the next version of ourselves. Sometimes letting go means accepting that you have done all you can. There are people in life who are not ready to change, grow, or meet you where you are. No matter how much love, time, or effort you pour into them, they may not be willing or able to reciprocate. And that's not a reflection of your worth, it's simply a reflection of their own limitations. You cannot force someone to grow or to change, just as you cannot force a relationship to work when it no longer fits. When you recognize that you've done everything you can, the most compassionate thing you can do is to let go and move forward. By doing so, you free yourself from the emotional burden of trying to carry someone else's weight and make space for the people who are ready to meet you on the same level. Letting go also requires us to examine our expectations. Sometimes we hold on to relationships or situations because we expect them to turn out a certain way. We believe that if we just wait long enough, things will improve, that people will change, or that the situation will get better. But what we fail to realize is that our expectations are often the very thing keeping us stuck. When we hold on to a relationship or situation based on what we think it should be, we are ignoring the reality of what it actually is. The longer we hold on, the more we risk our own happiness and growth. Letting go requires us to release our expectations and accept things as they are, not as we want them to be. At its core, letting go is about recognizing that you deserve better. It's about acknowledging that your energy and love are precious, and they should not be spent on things or people that drain you or hold you back. You are worthy of relationships that uplift you, challenge you, and support your growth. You are worthy of spaces that nourish you, opportunities that excite you, and experiences that help you become the best version of yourself. Letting go is not about being cold or indifferent. It is about being kind to yourself and understanding that your peace, happiness, and growth matter. As you move through life, you will encounter moments where letting go is necessary. These moments will be painful, but they will also be moments of transformation. When you let go, you make room for something better, something that is aligned with your true self and your purpose. And in the process, you will learn to trust yourself, to trust the journey, and to trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Letting go is not the end, it is the beginning of something new, something brighter, and something that is meant for you. In this life, you have to learn that not everyone is going to see your worth. Not everyone is going to appreciate your kindness, your sacrifices, or the love you give. There will be times when you give your all to someone and they will take it for granted. They will overlook your value not because you are not valuable, but because they are either too blind to see it or they are too selfish to recognize it. It's a painful truth to face, but one that can ultimately serve as a powerful lesson in self-respect and self-awareness. It's about understanding your worth, even when others fail to see it, and learning to walk away from situations that diminish your light. The truth is, some people will only see what they can take from you. They will only focus on what you can do for them, how you can benefit them, what they can gain from being around you. These individuals do not value you for who you are, but for what you can provide. And this is a dangerous thing to allow into your life. When you are in a relationship with someone who only sees your value through the lens of what they can extract from you, you are in a relationship that is fundamentally imbalanced. You are giving everything while receiving nothing in return, and that imbalance will inevitably drain you. One of the most important lessons you can learn is to stop investing in people who don't invest in you. Stop putting all your energy, your time, and your heart into people who don't acknowledge the effort you put forth. It's easy to get caught up in trying to please others, to always be there for them, to keep showing up for them, even when they don't reciprocate. You might convince yourself that if you just do enough, they'll eventually recognize your worth and appreciate you. But the reality is, if someone cannot see your worth now, they won't see it later. If someone does not value you for who you are, your presence in their life will never be a priority for them. They will never fully recognize what you bring to the table, and they will always take you for granted. This is not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of theirs. People who fail to recognize the value in others often do so because they are either too wrapped up in their own needs and desires, or they lack the emotional maturity to understand what it means to value someone. They may not have the capacity to appreciate what you bring to the table because they are too busy taking advantage of what they can get. They may not understand that love is not a one-way street, and that a healthy relationship requires mutual respect, care, and effort from both sides. When you find yourself in a situation where your worth is not recognized, it's time to reevaluate whether that relationship is worth holding on to. It's important to understand that your value is not determined by how others perceive you or by what they take from you. Your worth is inherent and is not something that can be diminished by someone else's inability to recognize it. When others fail to see your worth, it says more about their limitations than it does about you. You are not obligated to prove your value to anyone. You are not obligated to convince people that you are worthy of love, respect, or kindness. If they cannot see that on their own, it is not your job to change their perspective. You are deserving of love, respect, and recognition simply because you exist. Your worth is not conditional on how others treat you, and it is not dependent on their ability to acknowledge it. When you realize that your worth does not depend on others' opinions, you begin to let go of the need for validation. You stop seeking approval from people who don't see your value, and you start to prioritize your own feelings, your own needs, and your own self-respect. This shift in mindset is crucial because it allows you to take control of your own sense of worth and not let others dictate it. You begin to trust in your own judgment and recognize that you do not need anyone else's permission to know your value. You begin to walk away from relationships and situations where your worth is not acknowledged because you realize that you deserve better. You deserve to be seen, to be valued, and to be respected for the person you are. It's important to know when to walk away. Sometimes the best thing you can do when someone does not see your worth is to simply walk away. Walking away does not mean giving up, it means protecting yourself. It means recognizing that you cannot force someone to see you as you see yourself. You cannot convince someone to value you if they are unwilling or unable to. And the longer you stay in a relationship or situation where your worth is not recognized, the more you allow yourself to be diminished. Walking away is an act of self-love, an acknowledgement that you are worth more than the way you are being treated. But walking away can be hard. It can be especially difficult when you've invested so much into the relationship. You may feel that leaving would be a failure or that you are abandoning something that once held great potential. But the truth is, staying in a relationship where your worth is not seen is a form of self-neglect. You are doing yourself a disservice by continuing to give to someone who is not giving back. You are worth more than that. You are worthy of being in relationships where you are appreciated, respected, and valued. If someone cannot offer you that, then it's time to move on. In addition, walking away is not about cutting people off out of bitterness or anger. It is about creating space for better things to come into your life. It is about making room for people who will value you, who will see your worth, and who will give back in ways that nourish and support you. It is about surrounding yourself with people who will uplift you and remind you of your greatness. When you let go of the people who fail to see your value, you open the door to new relationships that will recognize your worth and appreciate everything you bring. Ultimately, your worth is not defined by anyone else's ability to recognize it. Your worth is defined by the way you see yourself, by the way you carry yourself, and by the love and respect you give to yourself. It is about setting boundaries, knowing when to walk away, and refusing to stay in situations where you are undervalued. You are deserving of love, respect, and all the good things life has to offer. Never forget that your worth is not up for negotiation, and no one can take that from you unless you let them. There's a profound difference between being kind and being weak. Being kind does not mean that you allow others to take advantage of you, manipulate you, or exploit your good intentions. Kindness is not a sign of weakness, it's a reflection of your strength, your character, and your emotional maturity. When you extend kindness to others, you are showing that you have the ability to be compassionate, empathetic, and considerate. But this should never be mistaken for an open invitation to be used or mistreated. Unfortunately, there are those who will exploit your kindness, taking from you without ever giving back. They will see your good heart as a vulnerability, and they will use it for their own benefit without hesitation. The key here is to recognize this manipulation and to understand that your kindness is not something that should be abused or taken for granted. When you're kind, you open yourself up to others in ways that some people may not understand. You offer your help, your time, your love, and your support without expecting anything in return. You offer it because it's in your nature, because you believe in the good in people, and because you want to make a difference. But what happens when people don't appreciate that kindness? What happens when they start to see your compassion not as a gift, but as something they can take advantage of for their own gain? This is where the line must be drawn. Kindness should never come at the expense of your peace, your well-being, or your self-respect. If someone is exploiting your kindness, you have the right to step back, reassess the situation, and set boundaries that protect your emotional health. One of the most important lessons in life is learning to recognize when your kindness is being used against you. There will be times when you give and give only to find that others take and take without ever giving anything back. This is not the kind of relationship you deserve to be in. You deserve to be surrounded by people who appreciate you for who you are, who recognize the value of your kindness, and who reciprocate your good intentions in ways that are genuine and respectful. If you continue to pour into a relationship where your kindness is exploited, you will only drain yourself, leaving you empty, exhausted, and resentful. This is not a sustainable way to live, and it is not a way to cultivate meaningful, healthy relationships. The challenge is that kindness by nature is often misunderstood. Some people mistake it for weakness or vulnerability, and they will try to take advantage of that. They may test your boundaries, push your limits, and manipulate your emotions, all the while expecting that your kindness will allow them to get away with it. They may not have any ill intentions, but that doesn't change the fact that they are using your generosity for their own benefit. This is where you have to stand firm and protect yourself. Your kindness is not something that should be exploited. You have the right to say no, to establish limits, and to walk away from situations or people who do not respect your kindness. It is also important to recognize that kindness is not about pleasing everyone or always being available to others. It's not about sacrificing your own needs, desires, or boundaries just to make someone else happy. True kindness comes from a place of self-respect and understanding that you can give to others without depleting yourself. When you are kind to others, it should not come at the expense of your own well-being. You should never have to feel like you are giving more than you can afford emotionally or physically. If you do, you are not practicing kindness, you are practicing self-neglect. Real kindness involves knowing when to give and when to protect yourself. It involves understanding that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and others is say no, to establish boundaries, and to walk away from people who are taking advantage of your generosity. People who exploit kindness often do so because they see it as a weakness. They believe that if you are kind, you will never say no, that you will always put others first, and that they can get away with using you for their own benefit. They may not even realize they are doing it. They may simply be accustomed to taking from others without giving back. However, when you allow this behavior to continue unchecked, it becomes a cycle that drains you emotionally, mentally, and physically. You may begin to feel like you are constantly giving but receiving nothing in return. This imbalance can create resentment, bitterness, and frustration, which can negatively impact your self-esteem and your outlook on life. When your kindness is constantly being exploited, it is essential to take a step back and evaluate the situation. Is this relationship truly reciprocal? Are you being appreciated, or are you simply being used? If you find that you are constantly giving without receiving anything in return, it is time to reassess whether this relationship is serving you. Kindness should be mutual. It should come from a place of respect, understanding, and empathy, not from a place of obligation or expectation. You deserve to have relationships where both parties give and take, where kindness flows freely both ways, and where you are not the only one investing in the connection. The key to protecting your kindness is to learn how to establish healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out or being unkind. They are about taking care of yourself while still being open to others. Boundaries allow you to maintain your sense of self while interacting with the world around you. When you set boundaries, you are telling others that you value yourself and your time. You are teaching them that you will not tolerate being taken advantage of, and you will not allow anyone to use your kindness for their own gain. Setting boundaries requires courage and self-respect, but it is an essential part of protecting your peace and your emotional well-being. When you set boundaries, you are not being rude or selfish, you are simply protecting your emotional health. You are recognizing that your kindness has limits and that it is not something that should be exploited. You are teaching others how to treat you with respect and dignity. And while this may be uncomfortable at first, it is an act of self-love and self-care. You are putting your own needs first, and you are saying no to relationships and situations that do not serve your highest good. It is also important to recognize that you cannot control how others will respond to your boundaries. Some people may push back, try to guilt trip you, or manipulate you into giving more than you are comfortable with. However, this is a reflection of their own issues and not a reflection of your worth. When you set boundaries, you are teaching others how to treat you. If they do not respect those boundaries, it is up to you to decide whether or not you want to continue engaging with them. If they continue to exploit your kindness despite your boundaries, it may be time to distance yourself from them entirely. Kindness is a powerful gift, but it must be given in a way that is balanced and healthy. It should never come at the expense of your own well-being, and it should never be exploited by others. Kindness is meant to be shared and reciprocated, not used as a tool for manipulation. It's essential to recognize when your kindness is being exploited and to take steps to protect yourself. By setting boundaries, practicing self-respect, and walking away from situations that drain you, you can ensure that your kindness is a source of strength and not a weakness. You are deserving of love, respect, and kindness, and you should never settle for anything less. Kindness is a weapon, but you must wield it wisely. It can build bridges, it can heal wounds, but it can also destroy you if it's not protected. I didn't give it away to those who only take. You've got too much to offer, too much strength, too much love to be spent on the wrong people. You are worthy of kindness that is returned. You are worthy of love that fills you, not drains you. You are worthy of relationships that give as much as they take. And don't you ever forget that. So be kind, but be wise. Be loving, but be discerning. And above all, never forget that your kindness is a treasure, not a tool. Protect it. Guard it. Use it for the right people. Because in the end, kindness will kill those who try to exploit it, but it will also save you if you learn how to protect it from those who don't deserve it.